Okay, my story is on the Lion King, which is a story that follows the life of a young lion, Prince Simba, who was born to a king. The king's brother was jealous of their success and murdered the king in front of Simba. And after a long journey of meeting friends and learning about himself, he eventually regained his strength to come back and reclaim his land from his evil uncle Scar. So important characters in this story are Mufasa, Simba, Scar, Timon, and Pumbaa, which each play the role of a dad, prince, evil uncle, and saviors. But first, let's look at fraud psychoanalytic theory. It's that inner force that drives behavior, strives to make the unconscious conscious, and that your past defines your habits, choices, and behavior. So, for example, someone who was sexually abused by their father would have a hard time trusting men in any future relationships. Calling your boyfriend John on your date, even though John is your ex-boyfriend's name, that is saying, Freud will argue that you're not over your ex-boyfriend, and that's why you referred and you are dating this guy, but in your mind you are seeing your ex-boyfriend. Being someone that is successful well into their 50s, but still feeling less because your parent told you that you would never be good enough your whole entire life. So it's a lot of internal conflict due to things that have happened in the past, stored in the unconscious, and occasionally will come forward through the conscious. Now to Jung's collective consciousness theory. So just like Freud, he believes in the conscious and the unconscious, but where they separate is that he felt that there was more to that, which is the added collective consciousness theory, that we have all one mind that is shared by humanity and is passed down through our ancestors. And we give meaning to symbols through our own personal experience, even though the symbol is universal. So, for example, religion and mythology, they are all different in terms, vocabularies, but the ideal core beliefs of religion and mythology is all universal and the same. However, we just give meaning based off what resonates with us in our lives. And for the part where he says that we are passed down information through our ancestors, there's a snake and rabbit study saying that they put toddlers and they introduced them to rabbits, and all the toddlers were willing to touch and play and be cute with the rabbit, but when they put the snakes, every single toddler was scared, and it just goes to prove that we all have this one mind that we share. So just like comparing, contrasting, the ego and the consciousness are both believed by both. They believe that is the gatekeeper to our realities, that it processes what we know to be true. However, Freud believes that we are focused heavily on the past, and that makes up our future. And Jung, believes that the soul, the psyche, is much deeper than that, and that gives us meaning. Now let's go back to the characters. We have Freud, which had Mufasa and Simba. Jung had Scar, Timon, and Pumbaa. Mufasa, as you know, he was murdered by his brother in front of his son, and his death was a tragic experience that heavily influenced Simba and his mentality for a very long time. Simba, as his father's death was a traumatic childhood experience. That's why he was even convinced by his uncle that his father died because of him. So that in itself drove him away from the land, had him defeated his whole life. And it took a lot of years of soul searching and regaining strength after he realized his father's spirit was in him, and he had the courage to go back to his land and reclaim his place as the prince. So Freud would argue that because of what happened in his childhood, that is why he had to go through such an extensive journey. Scar, archetype, enemy, wicked, the devil. As a jealous, murderous, and evil character in the story, it's obvious that Scar is created to connect the audience closer to Simba, to sympathize his life and create a sense of relief in the end of the story. Down to even his appearance, it's clear that his role is the enemy. Jung would say that this is something that in religion would be the devil. In mythology, it'd be the god that eats their own children. Okay, so it's what we resonate with bad. And Timon and Pumbaa, savior, archetype. Just like religion, they teach Simba to surrender, to have faith in something greater than himself. And that is something that in religious would be God, Jesus, etc. So they are the saviors here due to their strong faith system. And that's a wrap.